I've been into bourbon for 20 years. Aaron's been into it for over 10. We've had our channel for almost 5 years, and there's not a week that goes by that people don't ask for a collection video. I've been putting this off because stuff is all over this house, but we're going to talk about it. I'm going to show you the actual bottles that we own, having been in it for so long. And I think it's going to be really enlightening because it's not going to look like what you think it does. It's going to look actually quite a bit different. Real quick, for the layout of this house, longtime viewers will recognize this setup. We used to record here in our kitchen dining room area, pretty open layout here in this house, because we love having people over. We love sharing pours with each other, love sharing pours with friends. That's what this hobby is all about. It's not really about the bottles to us. We just use those bottles as a way to connect with others. But obviously it's fun having fun bottles. We're gonna handle this in kind of a segmented way because that's the way our collection is broken up. Here in this room, there are 3 different areas that whiskey is stored. Right underneath here is a little hidden cabinet that we keep just mixers and things for cocktails. Over here, or actually, where's it at? It's over there. The console back there has our international whiskey, and then back in the back corner is a bar cart. We're gonna talk about the reasons why we have the things that we have in those places, as well as highlight some bottles of interest. We're gonna take you down to our bourbon bunker. We live in an old 1960s split level house, so we're kind of up in the tree house area right now, but we'll go downstairs, show you the bourbon bunker, or I should say I will. This is very whiskey nerdy, not Erin's cup of tea. She's more of a social sipper, as we say all the time. We're gonna take you downstairs and show you the bourbon bunker, and then we'll take you to the back room, the lounge, which is also our recording studio, and I'll show you the bottles that we keep back there as well. That's where the good stuff is. So that'll be at the end of the video, but let's go ahead and get into it. We're gonna pivot the camera angle. We're gonna go over to the bar cart and the console, and what you're gonna see there is going to be the whiskeys that on the bar cart get people's attention when they're hanging out, and based on the bottle that they pull from the bar cart, it lets me know what they're most interested in, and then I get to maybe select something a little bit better that's out of sight for them, that's not on display. Kind of the whole, you go into a liquor store, you ask about a certain bottle, they go to the back and get something that's even better for you. We like to give people that experience around here. We'll also show you, like I said, the international whiskey stash, and then we'll follow up with the mixers that are right under here. All right, here's our bar cart. We have about 35 bottles capacity on here, along with our little decorative vase. But like I said, this is where when people come into our home, the idea is that right behind the camera are the stairs that lead up our split level to our top floor from the front door. So as soon as people walk up, they've got our living room area on their left, they've got our dining room area straight ahead, kitchen area kind of in the back corner over there, and then right here, almost directly in sightline, is this bar cart right here. What do we have on it? We have a variety of things, and they're actually ever changing. Mainly bottles that I'm going to reach for to grab for like a quick pour. Oftentimes our warm-up pours for our videos come from this cart because they're things that we're super familiar with. Other times I'll put fun single barrels on here just to have available very quickly. But the idea behind this bar cart, the number one purpose it serves is not for us to ever have drinks off of it. It's so that when people come into our home and they see this over here, this little piece in the corner, if they leave all the action over there and they gravitate over here, they start looking around. What do they see? What do they pick up? What do they pull? And then that will help me determine like what an elevated pour is that I can go get them. Or if it's something they've never tried, they get to try it. And we really like that. So right up front is a bottle of Blanton's. We keep a bottle of Blanton's for this specifically so that when people come over, if they see this front and center and they gravitate towards it and say they've never had it, we get to give them a taste of it. And if they have had it, but on rare occasion and hold it in high esteem, then we're able to find other things they might like and maybe even do a little side-by-side blind comparison to see how much they really like Blanton's. So that's always fun. Same thing for keeping an Elmer T. Lee right up front. And actually this has a Buffalo Trace single barrel in it because we drink all our Elmer T. Lee and shared it out. So I think the single barrel that's in there is much better than the Elmer T. Lee that was in there. So that go figure there, you know. We have a local store's 1792 foolproof pick. This is just in case I want something very quickly. don't want to have to go to the back room or digging in cabinets. Other things of note are a Green River single barrel pick. We've got a Nashville Barrel Company, just 6-year blended. Like to keep one of these around, some of their blended stuff. They're a cheaper price than their single barrels, and they're always delicious. Good pour just to enjoy whenever. Let's talk about some of the interesting things here, because Wild Turkey 101, Bourbon port finish, these things aren't of interest, but keep a Hard Truth up here. Always have Hard Truth representation on the bar cart because we love them. This is the Harvest Rye Melon Camp. This was the very first release, I believe, that they did, and really, really enjoy this. We have a Bardstown Bourbon Company Fusion that was signed, and this is up here. This is a Fusion 6 or 4, I believe. So pretty good. We got a High West Rendezvous Rye hanging out in the back right here. Very loud cart here. Sorry, headphone users. Like Rendezvous Rye a lot. It is pricey for low proof, but like having one of those around. Keep a Taylor small batch out here in case nobody's ever had it. Also, I enjoy just throwing it in a rocks glass neat. We also always try to keep a Willet 4-year rye out here, just because the Willet brand is very, you know, it's a mystique type of thing for some people. So we like to keep one of these out here. One thing I'll note about the bar cart real quick is the window right here. Morning sun does come in, but this blind, it kind of cuts through here. So it doesn't really hit the bar cart directly. Although, am I concerned about light ruining this whiskey? Because light exposure will ruin whiskey over time. Not really, because most of the things on here, if the bottles just disappeared tomorrow, I wouldn't really care. That's not the purpose they serve. Let's go down to the bottom shelf. There's some more things to talk about down here. Russell's Reserve Single Barrel Select. Fantastic now that it's down to $53 in our market. Really happy with this. We'll keep one of these on the bar cart. Always like to keep a Russell's 10 on the bar cart because we love Wild Turkey, and it's great to be able to grab a 10-year low proof expression to warm our palates up for barrels. It will either barrel picks, take it with us for that, or have it here before recording. We have 2 Buffalo Trace single barrels, making all kinds of noise. Really like Buffalo Trace single barrels. They're like $35 in our market. Great value for what you're getting. Some of my favorite stuff from Buffalo Trace, from a fun standpoint, is their single barrels. All right, what else we got? We got Michter's small batch. Love to keep a bottle of this on here. Absolutely love Michter's small batch. There's no way to do this because I got this cart crammed full without making a bunch of noise. Some other things I'll just call out real quickly. Early Times Bottled and Bond is on here. We also have a Jack Daniel's 100 proof bottled in bond, which is like a military base and travel exclusive, I believe, but love this stuff even more than the bonded. We have some Hard Truth High Road Rye, Baker 7, Knob Creek 9. We have a regular Eagle Rare and an Eagle Rare store pick. We have an Elijah Craig barrel proof pick. We have a Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye down on the bottom shelf. We actually have a caramel malted rye from Hard Truth as well. Lots of Hard Truth on the shelf out here. That's when we just want to grab something. We have a Sazerac Rye. We have an Angel's Envy store pick. And this is where we also keep an Angel's Envy Caribbean rum finished rye. This is like the perfect Christmas Day pour right here. So like keeping one of those out here. And we have some representation from our friends at Adventure Spirits up in the Toledo, Ohio area. They're doing great stuff up there, and it's an awesome place to visit if you get a chance. So got some Adventure Spirits on the bar cart as well. And I don't know if I mentioned the Rare Breed Rye, but we have a Rare Breed Rye here as well. And we often keep a Rare Breed Bourbon on the cart also, but just ran out of space right now. And that's also our decanter whiskey in the lounge. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but that's the bar cart and what's on here. But like I said, there's no real rhyme or reason as to what's on here. It's just a matter of what people gravitate to. And then I get to ask them, what do you like in whiskey? What's some of the favorite things you've ever had? What's your go-to? And between somebody telling me 1 or 2 of their go-tos and a couple of the best things they've ever had, it tells me a lot about their preferences. And then like, I usually keep, I don't have it on here right now, but I usually keep a Weller Special Reserve on the cart as well. When somebody comes over here and pulls that off the bar cart, I'm like, oh, Weller Special Reserve, have you had that before? And they're like, oh yes, it's amazing. I'm like, cool. Let me go to the back and grab Weller 12. And then you can try that and you can, see what this is leveled up. That's the main function over here. With that said, let's go ahead and push over. I'm gonna go ahead and get all the bottles out of this console because there's a lot of other stuff in here as well, like kitchen storage type things, glassware. But I'm gonna get all these bottles out and we'll talk about them. Unless there's a random bottle somewhere else in the house, which is very possible given how whiskey is everywhere, this is the entirety of our international whiskey and sipping spirits collection. Actually, I'm realizing now there's one bottle I'm missing in the back room, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. But yes, this is almost the entirety of our international sipping spirits collection. This is interestingly the smallest piece of our collection at just over 30 bottles, but it's really more driven by quality than quantity. And most of the things here we really, really enjoy on a very high level, but there are some budget finds in here, some regular shelf staples, and we'll talk about it because I think this stuff is some of our favorite stuff to sip when we're not recording. Although I do find myself most of the time reaching for bourbon or rye, but truthfully speaking, this stuff right here is the stuff that Aaron would grab every single time, first and foremost, especially this side of the table. But we've got American single malts, we've got Irish, we've got international whiskeys in the style of Scotch. We've got some sipping rum. And then over here we have Scotches. There does need to be Japanese whiskey representation here. Hibiki Harmony is a bottle I try to keep around. I really enjoy it and I have a history with it. It's the first whiskey that truly opened my eyes to all the different flavors you could get in whiskey. So I really like to keep a bottle of Hibiki Harmony around, but we're out of it and I just haven't replaced it. Another bottle I personally like to keep around for memory's sake is Glenlivet 18. And we don't have a Glenlivet 18 right now. We're out of ours and I just haven't ponied up the money to buy a replacement. But let's start with, truthfully, the only American single malt that we own currently. Now, we're always getting American single malts in and out, but this is one that we keep around all the time. And it is Cedar Ridge, the quintessential. And this stuff is just fantastic. Cedar Ridge is doing some of the best American single malt in the game, along with Westward, Westland. All those guys are killing the game. Love what they're doing. And we do have other single malts that are coming and going. Matter of fact, I'm thinking of it now. We actually have a bottle of Westward Milestone and a couple of their signature releases, kind of like they're in the bunker area, which they're not part of the long-term bunker. They're just like more short-term bunker bottles. We just don't keep them up here with the things that we kind of go to regularly, but really like Westward stuff as well. Into the Irish whiskey, and this is this kind of area right here, but we have Yellow Spot. Back here, we've got Teeling, like what they do, especially like the Teeling Black Pits. We don't have a bottle, but it's one of our favorite products of theirs. This is a good peated, it's Irish whiskey aged in a peat charred cask. It is West Cork Glengarriff series. Very good budget pour. We've got some Redbreast representation, the 12-year and the cask strength. The Redbreast 12-year cask strength is probably pound for pound, dollar for dollar, our favorite Irish whiskey, period. Also have to mention Powers John's Lane. Very, very good Irish whiskey that isn't quite as high a proof as the Redbreast 12-year cask strength. And then we do have a Gold Spot hanging out back here as well. This was the very first release, the 135th anniversary. Really enjoy this one a ton. Moving into some of the international whiskeys in the style of Scotch. We love this Penderyn. This is a Madeira cask finish. This is a Welsh single malt whiskey. Absolutely fantastic. Love, love, love this bottle so much. We have some Cavallon, and this is just the Distillery Select. Pretty standard offering from them, but pretty good. This is Taiwanese single malt. So very cool. Like our absolute maybe favorite brand of single malt from like countries that aren't typical whiskey producing countries is Amrut. And here we have the intermediate sherry and the cask strength. And we did have a bottle of Porta Nova, but that's gone now. Love what Amrut's doing. Love Fusion. Don't have a bottle of that right now, but probably we'll get another one. Love Amrut. Pound for pound, our absolute favorite distillery that's not out of Scotland that makes international whiskey. We have some Four Squares up here. We got 3 bottles. I would love to have more. We finish some, we go through this is the only rum we really buy unless it's a single barrel pick from somewhere. But we have the 2010, we have Touchstone, and then we have Nobiliary. These yearly releases, like the 2010, are usually a pretty safe buy, but we really enjoy this exceptional cask series. This touchstone right here is aged in ex-bourbon and ex-cognac, and then the biliary back here is all ex-bourbon. Love their stuff. My biggest note on Foursquare is that bourbon drinkers really need to try Foursquare, because one of my favorite things to do to friends is give them flights that have 2 really old bourbons and then 2 Foursquare rums after. And I can't tell you how many times the Foursquare rums have won out over the bourbons for people who love really good high quality bourbon. So that's where the fun in Foursquare is. Let's go ahead and move into the scotches, which is half of our international whiskey collection, and really truthfully Aaron's favorite stuff, my favorite stuff as well. We absolutely love scotch. We've got some non-peated and peated here. Got a little Macallan 12 left over. Like to keep a bottle of this around. Kind of gets people's attention sometimes, and I can then use that to usher them towards better stuff. Speaking of better stuff, Highland Park 12, a very good classic kind of, I wouldn't say starter scotch necessarily, but it just has a lot more going on in there than the Macallan 12. Love Highland Park stuff across the board. I've had some outstanding higher age releases from Highland Park. This is a bottle, this Glen Roth's, I don't know how you say it, but it's a 15-year, 43% ABV. Really enjoy this one. This was sent to us as a media sample, and I'm very glad they sent it. I think it's the only international bottle here that was sent to us as a media sample. Everything else was either purchased or gifted to us. Aaron tenure is fantastic. Actually, pretty much everything Aaron makes is amazing, and also my Aaron is amazing too, but their whiskey is great. And then one of our go-tos is Brook Lottie, Classic Lottie, in this signature blue bottle. I mean, 100 proof, 50% ABV, from the Isle of Islay, the island of Islay, but non-peated. You could almost this could almost replace all of these, truthfully speaking. This is how good this stuff is. Moving into a few more things here, we've got this is a really special bottle. This is the 2022 special edition of Bunnahabhain 12-year cask strength. This very well may be one of the best bottles, if not the best bottle on the table. Love this stuff. We've got some Scotch Malt Whiskey Society. We would like to have more. This one is Black Hole Cosmology, and this was a gift from our friend Mike Schneider. Fantastic. It's blow you away type whiskey. I don't know the regions or the codes off the top of my head to know what distillery this is from, but it's a Speyside ex-bourbon Hogshead first fill Chinkapin oak barrel, 15-year cask strength. Incredible stuff. We did have an Oban 10-year. This is the 2022 special release. It popped up on the channel in a blind sample. We absolutely adored it, and thankful for friends who helped us source a bottle. That's the beauty of this community. Moving on, got a couple of single barrels, you could call it, of Scotch, and you know how much we love single barrels. So this is Compass Box. This is the Transatlanticism blended malt Scotch whiskey, and this was a selection or a blend done in collaboration with Take, Jay West, and Shared Pour. So that is an outstanding bottle of whiskey right there. We also have, from our friend in Chicago area, Bill Kavanaugh, Benny's regular. This is a signatory, and it's a Glenlivet, and it's a 15-year cask strength. And this is why we don't have the 18-year anymore, because I've got this one, I want Glenlivet, and this is a 63.8% ABV. Outstanding. And now we'll get into our peated scotches, and there's going to be only 2 brands represented here. We have tried many more and love many more, but our dollars go towards barrel picks and going on barrel picks and making those available to our Patreon community. So we don't get to allocate as much money towards single malts and scotches and peated whiskey as we would like. Priorities over here, it all the fun money kind of goes back into the channel to facilitate all the cool things that we're doing for the community. But we have 2 brands, Lagavulin and Ardbeg. We always keep a bottle of Lagavulin 16 around. Just a classic, great peated, high age, you know, the 16 years of age in a Lagavulin, it reduces the peat a little bit and kind of marries it with the profile a little bit better so that it's not quite as abrasive. And that's a really nice, pleasant sipping experience. We also have 2 of the Offerman editions here. We had 3, but we finished 1. We still have a little bit of the charred oak cask here, the 11-year, and we have a little bit of the Guinness 11-year Offerman edition. So happy to have both of those. Wish I had all the lineup still, but I never got any backup bottles of any of those. So it's down to those 2. And then last up is going to be our 3 Ardbegs. And I would basically just love to own everything that Ardbeg ever makes, but we ain't got it like that. Like I said, we always keep a bottle of Ugadale. Love Ugadale. The sherry finish just comes through. Love the smokiness, love the peat. And then we have 2 special editions here. We have Bizarbecue, which I would say, along with the Bunnahabhain 12 years 2022 special release, that might be the best whiskey. The Bunnahabhain 12 cask strength might be the best whiskey on the table, but this Bizarbecue might be our favorite whiskey on the table. We adore this bottle, so much so that we have a backup in the bunker, and you'll see that here in a second. And then the last one is Eureka, and this is a pretty new special release. I believe it was this year's committee release, if I'm not mistaken. You can correct me if you would like in the comments below, but I believe that's correct. But yeah, we love the profile of the peat profile of Lagavulin and Ardbeg. Not as much of a Lefroy guy, except for Cargis, and never have owned a bottle of that. We love, what's the one that everybody talks about? Actually, I don't even know if it's peated or not. There's just so many Scotch distilleries that do such good work. But yeah, I absolutely love all of this stuff, and this would be easily 4 times the size if all of our money didn't go towards making all the experiences and the barrel picks that we pour our money into, making that stuff happen. This would expand rapidly, because I mean, I can't get over it. And if you're a bourbon guy, if you're a rye guy, and you've tried some single malts, I would really urge you to try to find stuff that's a little bit better than the entry level. You know, if you try a Macallan 12 or a Glenlivet 12 or something like that, and maybe you didn't like it, that would be like judging all bourbon based on Elijah Craig's Small Batch and Buffalo Trace. You know, there's bottles out there that are heavy hitting bottles that are amazing. So I would recommend that you check some stuff out. But that's it for up here. What am I talking about? We've got to talk about the mixers. We got to get into those. So let's do that right now. All right, we hardly keep bad whiskey as mixer whiskey. We like to actually, you know, for us, if we're drinking anything at all, we like it to be good. So this isn't necessarily all mixer whiskey. Some of this is just like things we ran out of space for and I tucked under here. Things we like to reach for kind of often that maybe don't fit in on the bar cart or weren't part of the bar cart to begin with. But we'll kind of talk about a little bit of this selection here and why these are here. Also, that's where we keep our little shelf under there, is where we keep our vodka, our gin, any of our mixers. We got some brandy under there. We've got our cocktail cherries, our Luxardo cherries, some bitters and all that sort of stuff. But I just pulled out the whiskey because that's what's pertinent to what we're doing here. So I mentioned the bar cart earlier in Weller Special Reserve. Well, here it is right here. Probably need to move it back to the bar cart. I don't know why it got put under there. I was probably making a cocktail or something. Continuing the wheated whiskey vein, we've got Uncharted from O.H. Ingram, as well as some Maker's Mark 101. This is kind of the wheated whiskey selection if somebody is looking for a wheated whiskey, a wheated bourbon, a wheated bourbon cocktail or something like that. These are kind of some of our go-tos. Actually, really good sipping is this Silver Belly Whiskey Birthday Whiskey. They got, I believe, a little slap on the hand from Old Forester's Birthday Bourbon. And so the name of this whiskey is changed this year, but really like that for good sipping. We've got our Early Times Bottled in Bond with the black cap. This is a Brown-Forman bottling, not a Sazerac bottling. The reason why this is under here and the blue metal cap Early Times is on the bar cart is because the blue metal cap Early Times, ours, is much better than this black plastic cap Early Times. Always like to keep a Russell's Reserve single barrel rye under here. This is like when Aaron wants an elevated cocktail, especially a Manhattan or an old fashioned. I'll kind of reach for this oftentimes. Now, if I really want to step it up, I'll use some Middle West Spirits Dark Pumpernickel Cask Strength Rye. This is 125.3 proof. Middle West Spirits and their Dark Pumpernickel Rye is some of the best rye on planet Earth. If you haven't checked it out yet, you owe it to yourself to do so. Always like to keep a regular bottle of Buffalo Trace under here. This one is almost gone, as you can see, but that's good for cocktails. We've got our combination of ancient age and ancient age. So try to keep one of each of these under there as well, just for like game day sipping, easy mixing, things like that. Have a bottle of Traveler because we bought it for the channel and it's just hanging around. So that's where it stays. Always like to keep a Barrel Craft Spirits under there. Oftentimes quick grab, easy access sipping for me because I really like their stuff. And this is the closest access point in the kitchen for grabbing something if I want something quick. Also really like making cocktails with barrel stuff. Got Silver Belly, their basic small batch whiskey, their straight bourbon. This is 91 proof and yeah, just good stuff coming out of Columbia, Tennessee. So very cool. Our number one old fashioned base spirit is JTS Brown. We always get bottles of this when we're in Kentucky. Always keep some of this around. Love JTS Brown. Jack and Cokes are basically an unofficial state beverage here in Tennessee. Jack Daniel's Bonded makes some of the best. We absolutely love this stuff for that. Often don't drink it by itself, and it is a little expensive for us for a mixer, but we also don't mind splurging a little bit on having some good mixers too. So really like having a bottle of Bonded around for that. And then the last bottle here, and in my opinion, my favorite bottle here is this Starlight Barrels for Hope pick. And if you don't know what Barrels for Hope is, it's a charity organization that I helped found along with Whiskey Tornado Lance, Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews, and then Joe Carter of the Maumee Valley Whiskey Society. And what we do is we raise money for military, children's, mental health, and cancer. Each of the 4 founding members have ties to each of those causes, and we support charities, and we also go do barrel picks for our members. We use the membership dues, less the cost of the barrels, to donate money to charity. And so far, we've had our 2nd annual event, and so far we've donated $90,000, and we're on track to get close to $150,000 for our year 3 event as we wrap up year 3 here in the next few months, and then start planning our annual event to make those donations. So this Starlight barrel pick, by the way, want more information on that, barrelsforhope.com. You can go check it out. You can become a member. It's great. Bottles just show up at your door after we go pick them, and you get to support charities in the process. The Starlight pick was from our first annual event. We had 100 people at our first annual event, and we all went to Starlight, and we did a huge committee barrel pick. And this one right here was the winner. It's amazing. It's aged 4 years. It tastes double that. It's 119.5 proof. It is fantastic sipping whiskey. I have many backups of this bottle, but we keep one up here because it makes the very best bourbon and cokes that I've ever had. So I bought 2 of these specifically just to mix bourbon and cokes. So gotta have that around here as well. That's it for our kind of common area in the house. We got our bar cart, we got our console with the international whiskey, and then we got our easy access mixers and mix and match type of things over here. I think next up, the important thing is to go downstairs to the bunker. I'll show you what backup bottles we have. And then once we're wrapped up down there, and there's a lot of stuff down there, we'll go ahead and go to the back in the lounge where we record our videos, where we have those 2 cabinets on either side. That's where some of our best whiskey is, and also have some floor whiskey that I need to deal with in there as well in the bottom of the closet. But we'll talk about all that when we get back there. But for now, let's wrap this up and get down to the bunker. The core of our bourbon bunker is our barrel picks. That's what we have the most of. We're going to talk about a little bit of other things besides our barrel picks that we do have backups of, but this is the crux of it. We're going to take a couple different angles. This stuff normally lives on the other side of this wall right here in some garage storage. But first up, we have our Nashville Barrel Company picks, starting with our very first one we ever did in collaboration with ADHD Whiskey called Swag Junior, very legendary pick in the stuff and whiskey sphere, as well as the People's Bourbon. These were our first couple of picks we ever did with Nashville Barrel Company. Did the People's Bourbon in collaboration with Maumee Valley Whiskey Society. Down to our last one of those, you can see we've got 2 Swag Juniors back here. One for me, one for Erin. That was her first barrel pick she had ever been on. We have Sunday Brunch, which began a legendary run of some of National Barrel Company's barrels that we got. Barrels for Hope, which is a charity organization that I'm the vice president of, volunteer board. We raise money for cancer, children, military, and mental health organizations. So this was a really special pick to be a part of. Have 2 of these, got one as a backup in the charity fundraiser auction that we do for Barrels for Hope at the end of every year. It's actually the summertime, but Kryptonite, amazing pick with Dusty Dan's whiskey reviews. If you don't know Dusty Dan, please go check him out. Awesome palate, one of the best on WhiskeyTube. Then we've got 24 Kelvin Magic and Blurred Lines. These were part of our first Stuff and Whiskey annual gathering that happened here in Nashville, Tennessee. Technically, the very first one happened in Chicago area, but both of these were chosen as part of our first event. That's a tradition that we have carried on in future barrel picks. So tons of fun, or future Stuff and Whiskey annual gatherings, rather. We do barrel picks at those, at Nashville Barrel here in Nashville. So very cool to get these 2. Another collaborative pick with Dusty Dan, Sonic Boom. Next month's budget was the first rye that we ever picked from Nashville Barrel Company, and it is a 12-year-old rye. Absolutely killer. When we remember, we get people to sign the bottles. Love that one. Next month's budget, the sticker on this thing is so funny if you can see that. It's basically just see no evil because 12-year rye is not cheap. On this side, we've got a few more Barrels for Hope pick. We've got Pace Yourself, which is a legendary pick. I mean, our NBC picks are legendary for a good reason. Then we have Swag 2025 and Nashville House. Both of those are the 2025 Stuff and Whiskey annual gathering. Stuff and Whiskey annual gathering, Swag 2025. And then most recently, The Right Stuff and Davy Jones Treasure. This is going to get added to. We're going back from the time I'm filming this. It'll be next Monday, 1 week from today, but you won't see this by then. I'm just doing this while all the bottles are out of the bunker, but we're going to add some more. We'll add a rye, also add probably another bourbon here as well. So this is the Nashville Barrel Company stuff. We will swing the camera around and get some stuff back here that is out of the bunker as well. We're not going to go in depth about every single bottle, but Nashville Barrel Company has a near and dear place in my heart and in Aaron's heart. They are local. Wanted to give them some shine because you will not see as much representation of any other distillery in our entire collection than Nashville Barrel Company right here. So we love those guys. Let's get to the next stuff. This is the rest of the bunker right here. So we've got barrel picks over here on the table. We've got other bottles that aren't barrel picks over here on Aaron's desk. So let's talk about some of these things. We're not going to go into super huge detail, and there's not really rhyme or reason, but let's start here because this is where it all started. The Blue Note bar. This is a juke joint uncut. We did this with Mash and Journey. This was our first barrel pick ever. So this was a special bottle. We've got one in the bunker, and then we also did a follow-up Blue Note bar dark pick that we did more recently. But man, we have all kinds of stuff here. It's almost overwhelming because I don't know where to start. Let's just hit some of the highlights. I mean, we don't have to go through everything, but we've got some Middle West spirits here, both picks that we did with Maumee Valley Whiskey Society as collabs, as well as a Barrels for Hope. Their Middle West Pumpernickel Rye, their dark Pumpernickel Rye, cast strength. Those picks are phenomenal. That's what all 3 of these are. Absolutely love them. Did a Cedar Ridge pick. We did this with the Bourbon Judge as a collab pick. This was a fun one, Backyard Barbecue. Got some Elijah Craig barrel proof picks. These were all Barrels for Hope. As you can see here, Barrels for Hope Founders pick right there on the sticker. So gorgeous sticker. We also have the short barrel, and we did a pick that ended up coming from a different warehouse that's also awesome as well. I'm blanking on the warehouse name right now. But we've got some Dark Arts Barrels for Hope picks. We have a Found North Operation Canadian Whiskey pick that we did in collab with Maumee Valley Whiskey Society. We have our Dark Arts Macaulay's Magical Madeira. Super, super good pick. Four-Gate Drunk Marshmallow pick. Some of these are wrapped up because they're just backups. We have our Riders of the Lost Riders of the Lost Barrel rather. Sagamore Spirit pick. backup Barrels for Hope, still Austin. Our Knob Creek, what do we call this one? Black Cherry batch. We did a Frey Ranch pick in collaboration with SLB Drinks and the Bourbon Judge. This was a very, very good bottle. Got one of those. Couple of Four Roses, OESFs. These are our Barrels for Hope Four Roses picks. Incredible. Love that bottle. We did a Pursuit United Double Trouble, double oaked pick. One of the first double oak picks they ever had released. That was really cool to get. Another Found North that we did, the Full Daddy. This was kind of a legendary pick within the community. We have 1792 Strong Like Kong, full proof. This was really good. And I mentioned that the Swag Junior was Aaron's first barrel pick. This was my first barrel pick ever. It was a 1792 full proof with a local store, Nashville Daily Spirits here in Nashville, Tennessee. And very first barrel pick I ever went on, I bought 14 of these bottles. I'm down to the last one now. Gifted a lot, did some charity fundraising stuff with them. We have our very first private labeled Barrels for Hope pick. This is a Jim Beam American whiskey, because it was in a secondary barrel, aged in a secondary barrel, and it's 12 years old. And essentially this was one of the components of the Little Book blend that got aged up, and then we double oaked it, and here we go. So there's that. Southern Collective Whiskey Society, or not Southern Collective Whiskey Society, Southern Collective Spirit Company is here in Nashville, Tennessee as well. Got a great crew over there, love those guys. And this is the Bogzilla Strikes Back pick. This is a monster rye. We love this pick. A smattering of turkey picks, which will be added to very soon because we picked 2 Russell's Reserve barrels very recently. So those are going to get added, but we have a Kentucky Spirit. We have 3 different Russell's Reserves, which are the Judge and Jury that we picked with Marcus at the Bourbon Judge, as well as SLB Drinks a couple years back. And then we have all the fixins and Kentucky Sweet Tea. Amazing to get Russell's picks. Glad to add 2 more to the bunch here soon. We went to Jack Daniel's and we picked Oak Cola, which is here still in the box. And then we went back recently and we picked 2 more. We picked Chocolate Chip Banana Bar and Slop Hill Gang Tennessee Whiskey Barrel Proof, as well as a Barrel Proof Rye, respectively. Got some Evernorths here. We picked 2 Evernorths. We picked a bourbon and a rye. Incredible stuff right here. 6-year Green River source, but it's not their typical mash bill that they release from Green River. It's different, so that's super cool. And then we got a MGP rye that's just absolutely ridiculously good called the Screamin' Delta Demon. The bourbon we called Grizzly River Rampage. Super, super good. Snuck a little Starlight in here. It's brandy, baby. This was a white grape brandy finished Starlight pick that we did with Mommy Valley. Super cool. I also have some Barrels for Hope Starlights that we chose. These were chosen at our very first annual Barrels for Hope event. We had 100 people in the room. We had 4 or 5 barrels, and we all tasted through them, and we picked, there were 2 that were killer. So we ended up picking both of those. But I've got 3 plus 2 more of these upstairs of the bourbon. And then I've got 1 backup of the double oaked as well. Very, very cool. Got New Holland Beer Barrel Bourbon, single barrel cask strength. This is a Stone Fruit Stunner. Got a couple of these left still. And we also picked a Walleye Run Rye. I had to open my backup of that. I'm trying to get another one. Hopefully by the time this video sees the light of day, I'll have one. But we're also getting another New Holland Walleye Run Rye. That is just like peach cobbler and brownie batter. It is killer. We've got our Bardstown I'll Take a Case pick. Little Barrels for Hope Maker's Mark Fruitgate. Love this one. And then a couple of Hard Truths in here. Barrels for Hope, as well as our Hard Truth pick that we did. Both of those toasted ryes. And then here in the middle of the table, we've got some of our Reveries picks. So got a few of the 16 years. This is basically like a single barrel George T. Stagg. And then a Reveries 9-year, which is a Kelvin Barrel MGP. Love plenty of that stuff with Nashville Barrel, but it's cool to get it from a different climate, different aging environment. Very, very, very good on that as well. And by the time this video comes out, we'll have more to add to this. We'll have backups of our 7-year Bardstown Bourbon Company distilled bourbon, as well as 17-year Buffalo Turkey stuff, just like the 16-year, whereas this is like more cherry and spice and old leather and oak. The 17-year is more grape and antiqued. Just, oh man, such a great profile. So adding plenty more Reveries bottles to the mix very soon. And then as we go over here, got a couple of Eagle Rares in the bunker. Really enjoy Eagle Rare for easy sipping from Buffalo Trace. One of my favorite products. Have 3 bottles left of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923. Back that one up big time. I think I had 5 at one time. So we're down to 3, working our way through that. And we also have a B522. Really love that batch as well. We got a Bardstown Discovery Series 12 over here in the corner. We've got 3 rare breeds. These were from 2020 when things started getting really crazy. Or actually, no, 2022. That's what that laser code says, which you can see the laser code down on the back at the very bottom. Or maybe I just can't read. But I bought a lot of these back around 2020, 2021, 2022, when there was a glass shortage and they were in short stock. We didn't know when they were going to be back. And I bought a bunch of them. So we're down to 3 more of these left. Aaron's coming downstairs now. If you hear this creaky stairs in our house, WB Saffel, which is just a great wild turkey expression. Speaking of Wild Turkey Rare Breed, we have 3 of the Leader non-chill filtered releases. Awesome to have people that have helped us secure these. We've got 3 here. We have 2 more upstairs. We ended up with 5 of those. Actually, we ended up with more, but I've given some away and put some in charity fundraisers. We've got William LaRue Weller, a little hip flask of this. It was very cool. Not William LaRue Weller the BTAC though. This is the special reserve, but this is like a cool thing that I wanted to tuck away and have for later on. So that'll be really cool to have. Speaking of little 375 or hip flask type things, this is the Jack Daniel's Sweet Mash Straight Tennessee Whiskey. This is a distillery only release to my knowledge, release number 15. Very, very cool. Very, very good. Different profile from typical Jack Daniel's. Same as Jack Daniel's 12-year batch 3. Lucky enough to get a backup bottle of this. Have one open upstairs. Love that stuff. And let's see what else I can hit on. We've got a Michter's Toasted Barrel Rye. Lucky enough to get 2 of these in the 2023 release year, which we love. So happy to have that. Happy to have friends that help me find that through Discord. Shout out to Norm Latva on that one. Shout out to Randy. Norm and Randy are both part of the Spirited Reviews channel, so check them out if you haven't. But Wild Turkey's 70th anniversary, great bottle to have a backup of. Is it the best whiskey in the world? No. Is it very, very good and enjoyable? Yes. And I'll be happy to have this to open up many years down the road. One of the only, actually, if I'm not mistaken, the only Scotch bottle that we have a backup of in the entire house is Ardbeg Bizarrebecue, because we absolutely love this. We both love peated whiskey, but we don't buy a lot of Scotch nearly as much as we'd like because of the cost and because we're doing barrel picks and spending most of our money goes towards barrel picks, both doing them, making the bottles available to our community, as well as buying a backup of each of those. So we stay pretty busy with that. Do have a backup of Russell's 15-year, one of my favorite releases ever. So happy to have a backup of this. This is like our 3rd or 4th bottle, I believe, of Russell's 15. I made it a point to get as many of these as I could. I have one bottle that's signed by Jimmy Russell. He signed it when we were up there doing a barrel pick for all the fixins and Kentucky sweet tea. And so what I've been doing is just every time I open a backup, I just pour it in the bottle that Jimmy signed. But until I get another one, this one's going to stay sealed. If I get another one. Used to have a lot more backups of Stag. I'm down to 1 backup of 22A. Wish I had a backup of 24A. Used to have several backups of batch 16. Those are a couple of my favorite batches. Used to have backups of 14. But yeah, just over the time, I've used those, drink them, giving them away, that sort of stuff. And then I think maybe one of the most interesting things, and this is going to wrap up the bunker, one thing I really like to do is when things go out of production is grab a bottle of it, especially if it's inexpensive stuff that I really enjoy just for easy sipping. When I run across Dusties nowadays, those are some of the funnest things to try because there's not a lot of money wrapped up in them, sitting around taking up space or cost. So a couple of the low price available pours that I think will be really cool future Dusties to drink 10, 20, 30 years from now Russell's Reserve 10-year. This is the LLME laser code. If you look it up, it's back here on the bottom glass. It's hard to see without light shining directly on it, but this is a LLME, reportedly has 15-year distillate in it. So very, very good. $40 bottle in our market. Had to get a backup. Had some friends help me with this one too. JTS Brown, a couple bottles of this just because it's fun. We got a bottle, thanks to Barry Hawk, for the Maker's 46 in the old bottling before they switched to the new bottling. So that's cool to have. Like Maker's 46, it'll be cool to try that in some years from now. Just a Weller Special Reserve, just because I ran into one, grabbed it, stuck it in the bunker to taste many years down the road to see how the profile might change. One of the more expensive backups, actually, this is a Smoke Wagon with the white label, an uncut, unfiltered. And it specifically says on the back, this is batch 90. And this is when they ran out of their amber glass during the pandemic a couple years ago. And it says, because of you wonderful bourbon drinking people, we've gone through all of the 2020 custom amber glass much faster than anticipated. Amber glass is only made a couple times a year, so we've had to have our custom bottles made using clear glass until the 2021 amber campaign begins. Clear glass will be used between May and August of 2021 when the new custom amber bottles are scheduled to show up. And then I thought somewhere on here, maybe it was just in their public announcement of this, they said this is not a collectible bottle. There's no reason to not drink it. There's nothing different about it other than it's clear glass. But considering they were only putting clear glass for May, June, July, and August of 2021, I had to get one and not open it. And back then, I liked Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered a lot more. I think they were putting older whiskey in there. Nowadays, it's a bottle I just pass on the shelf. And last up, couple pours last up, Benchmark Full Proof, dirt cheap. Might as well grab one as a backup for the long term. Taste it in 10 or 20 or 30 years. And then we've got some Wild Turkey 101, specifically the old paper label with the turkey head on it. So we've got this big glass handle, 1.75 liter, as well as 2 liters of cola of the same paper label, and 2 750s, because I love Old Turkey, and these paper label Wild Turkeys were very, very good, the 101s. I like this profile from these like mid to late teens a lot more than the modern stuff, the way they're blending it. So it'll be cool to taste those years from now. But this is the entirety of our bourbon bunker. And these are the things that we actually purchase with our own money, and we make backups of them and we hold them for whatever reason. A lot of these barrel picks are never going to be opened until many, many years from now. We're always going to keep one backup of these. But we have a couple of duplicates, like we've got extra Starlights, we've got extra Reveries, we've got some extra Evernorths, Russells, things like that. And the reason we have extras is because we want to be able to have bottles to give towards charity efforts if we want to. We want to have bottles that we can share with friends if we want to. We like taking some of these older picks on barrel picks when we go and have other people join us there. Have a great time doing that. So this is the bunker. This is the lion's share of our collection. And it isn't really, I mean, maybe the Smoke Wagon clear bottle is really the only collectible bottle. Everything else throughout our entire house is open, and we'll talk about all that stuff, or maybe you've already seen it in this video, but this is how we purchase stuff. You know, we put our money into experiences, and these barrel picks are experiences, going on them, having people come with us, join us. People on Patreon are the people that come with us and do these picks with us. And so each one of these bottles represents a group of people that came together with us. We all traveled to a place, we all did a pick, and it was a ton of fun, and we got some great whiskey as a result of it. So nothing beats that for us. Single barrels are by far my favorite product, and anytime I'm just sitting around drinking something by myself, it's always going to be a single barrel. Anytime I can hang out with friends, I'm always excited to share single barrels that they've never tried before, and I love making the experiences and having the memories of choosing these with friends from the channel. So that's the bunker. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Welcome to the lounge. We're going to talk about this cabinet on my side of the lounge. And then we'll talk about the cabinet on Aaron's side of the lounge, and then we'll talk about all the floor whiskey in the closet. I'll tell you why that's there. It's a lot of tall bottles, but also there's a little shelving unit in there in the closet where pretty much all of our barrel picks are as well. So this cabinet right here contains almost 3 very specific categories of whiskey, and I'll show you here, and I'm not gonna pull everything out because it would just be a mess, but there are all National Barrel Company bottles here on the top left side, and they even spill over into the right side as well. There's like 30 something bottles of NBC up here. It's our favorite place to buy whiskey from because we're here local. We can try it before we buy it in many cases, and we also know people who do a lot of good picks. We do a lot of barrel picks ourselves there. I mean, what can I say? It's a favorite for a reason. We got a ton of them. Of note, these Grateful Kelvins are super good. The ones that we've had, this one in particular is amazing. We've got some Boss's Birthday Bourbon in here. We've got, this is for the National Barrel Company heads. We've got Iron Man. We've got some of the Barrels for Hope picks. We've got some of the rye releases, just a ton of stuff. I mean, I love NBC. What can I say? Down here, we've got our upcoming Old Forester pick, and oftentimes this lower left side, I use it almost as a staging area because it's right here by where I sit for our recordings, for our videos. I use it as a staging area for things we're gonna have on live streams coming up, or samples that we need to try, or I'll use it for like if we get a media sample or a bottle in, or if there's like something pressing. This is kind of my area where I know to go to it. So the reason the Old Forester is here is because I have to talk to our Patreon community about it and let them know what to expect out of this barrel pick. And so that way they know whether they want to buy it or not. That's a big deal for us, is to let our people know exactly what they can expect out of our barrel picks. In addition to that, there's this mason jar, and this has Jim Beam from 1983 in it out of a Ducks Unlimited decanter. Very, very cool, but you don't want to leave decanter whiskey in a decanter for very long. You want to decant it, get it out, make sure it's good, and this is good. Kind of funky, kind of weird, but kind of cool. And the lounge is where we bring people when we want to share some really fun whiskey. That's why all the National Barrel Company stuff is back here. I spend a lot of time back here editing videos and working on things for the channel, and this is a fun bottle to have to be able to share with people. We've got a Peerless Rye back here. I was trying this just because we did a Peerless pick and a Peerless Rye pick specifically, and it was absolutely awesome. And I was trying our sample that we have of that against this one. This is Tailgate. We got this from the distillery, and this is very good. I really like our pick though. Got some Rebecca Creek double barrel, got some more National Barrel Company on the bottom down there, some of the 6-year rye. We got some Raconteur rye here, if you can see that. There's some Adventure Spirits back here from the Toledo, Ohio area. Check those guys out if you are in the area. Best cocktails ever up there. Great whiskey, well worth stopping in. Killer spot in Toledo. I guess it's technically in White House near Toledo, but and then we have keep it like an old Jim Beam. I try to keep a really old, like 14, 15, 16 year from the previous era with the old labeling back there, if you can see that right there. So that's a Pearl Harbor, Hawaii pick. I think it's like a month shy of being 16 years. So that's what's here. A lot of NBC and just some interesting bottles that I need to get to for specific reasons. On the other side, on the top right, are all of our Barrels for Hope picks that have come out, and I'm running out of room for those, so they're spilling over a little bit into the bottom area as well, but have some more National Barrel Company down there. Those are picks that we've done with Stuff and Whiskey. Just some awesome stuff down there. We've got some backup bottles and like various things behind there. Got a little 1792. I don't know if it can be seen on camera, but it's like a bottled in bond, the 12-year, a bottled in bond single barrel, and then a foolproof pick that I did with a local store, which was my first pick that I actually ever went on, was a 1792 foolproof barrel pick. And it was an awesome experience. Worth noting, this bottle's really special. So Barrels for Hope, because of the tie-in with Adventure Spirits, Joe Carter, half of the ownership of Adventure Spirits, is our president. I'm vice president, Joe's president, and through him we're able to get private barrels and do private labeling. So once a year as our limited edition for Barrels for Hope, we're going to start doing a private labeling. And the only way you can get these is being a member of Barrels for Hope. But we've done some Bardstown Bourbon Company picks. We've done Four Roses picks, Dark Arts, Maker's Mark, Green River, Knob Creek. This Still Austin bourbon right here is, or this is the rye. Oh yeah, this Still Austin rye pick tastes like a bourbon. This is one of the best barrel picks I have ever tasted, ever, period, point blank. This is an amazing barrel of whiskey right here. More Nashville Barrel Company, because we've done some picks there with Barrels for Hope. What else do we have back there? Some Starlight, some Middle West Spirits, some Hard Truth. You're going to hear a lot of the same brands mentioned when it comes to what we do. But yeah, we've got so much fun whiskey back here, and this is my cabinet side. The 1792 stuff is a little bit out of character. It kind of doesn't fit with the theme of the rest of the cabinet, but had to put it somewhere and it just landed there. I probably need to reorganize, but organization is not my strong suit. And in this old house with these small rooms and like limited storage, it's tough when you got a lot of whiskey bottles. So if you want to display your whiskey video, you're not going to get that from us, but this is why you can see what the collection is all about this way. Let's get over to Aaron's cabinet side, talk about some of the Buffalo Trace stuff, some of the Wild Turkey stuff, Jack Daniels, Heaven Hill, and some of the interesting bottles over there that don't fit into any of those categories, but they're over there just because they're interesting, and we like to have them in a special cabinet and readily accessible. All right, we're over to Aaron's side of the room now, and I mentioned sides of the room, but that really doesn't have a correlation as to what's in the cabinets. I do all the whiskey organizing around here. If Aaron did it, it'd probably look a lot neater and a lot better, let's be honest. But let's talk about what we got in this cabinet, but let's start on top of the cabinet, because this, other than the bar cart, is the only other place in our home where whiskey is displayed. And from your left to right, we've got King of Kentucky 16-year 2023 release. Very, very special bottle, kind of my holy grail of bourbon. And I'm very, very lucky to have that bottle as a very generous gift from a dear friend, Justin. Thank you so much. As well as the Booker's Rye right next to it. Also thanks to Justin. Grail bourbon, Grail rye, sitting right next to each other. They only get touched when we have company over, or it is the most special of occasions, or if I can find any excuse to taste them for the channel. But truthfully speaking, they're both getting a little low, so I only really have them come out when it's special company. We recently did a barrel pick, had some people over, did a barrel pick here in town, rather, I should say, to clarify. And it was at Nashville Barrel Company. Afterwards, we had some people over and broke out the Booker's Rye, of course, because a lot of people hadn't tried it. So that was fun. Kentucky Owl Batch 12. This was a gift from our dear friend Norm Latva when we hit 20,000 subscribers. And so that was really cool. And that bottle is to commemorate that. And it stays up there and only gets drank under special circumstances as well. We got Wild Turkey Generations, which is one of my favorite releases from Wild Turkey. And we'll talk about some more special Wild Turkey releases here in a second when we get into these cabinets. And then in our decanter, we have Rare Breed, just your regular Rare Breed. So in the cabinets here, what we're going to have is again, it's almost like 4 sections in here. Upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right. Let's start here on the upper right-hand side. This top shelf here is going to be pretty much dominated by Jack Daniels. We have quite a few Jack Daniels Barrel Proof Tennessee Whiskey single barrel selections in here, including our own, but we also have some local stores picks that are really good. We have the last little bit of our 2024 Coy Hill. Used to have a 2021 Hazmat Coy Hill, but that got shared and now it is gone. And I miss it dearly because that is one of my favorite whiskeys ever, along with King of Kentucky. We have Jack Daniel's 12-year back here. We have the 2020 special release rye right here. We have the Heritage Toasted Barrel Rye back here. We have the Heritage Single Malt that they did, which was amazing. Oloroso Sherry finished. Really enjoy that. Down here on the bottom shelf, we have Bardstown Discovery Series 12. We have our Bardstown Bourbon Company pick that we did. That's a unique mash bill. That was really cool. Shout out to Matt Porter at ADHD Whiskey. We have his blend, his World's Top Whiskey Taster blend that he did. We also have a couple of fun bottles back there that are very niche. Thicket, Cast Strength Thicket, which is a crazy niche release. The backstory on it is, I'm not even going to get into it here. It was a private labeling type of situation. Very cool. We got a lot of Elijah Craig barrel proof down here as well. We got some Henry McKenna down here as well too, but Elijah Craig barrel proof kind of dominates. We got like 8 or 9 different Elijah Craig barrel proof, either store picks or specific releases from Elijah Craig barrel proof. Like B522 is down here. C923 is down here. We've got the Elijah Craig barrel proof bottle your own that we did when we were there. That's a really good one, as well as, like I said, some of our very best single barrel store picks from Elijah Craig. We have, it's hard to see, but there's a Michter's barrel strength rye, or toasted barrel rye here, and a Michter's barrel strength rye behind that. And then also down there are batches 1 and 2 of 13th Colony double oaked. Those bottles are shaped so weird and they take up so much space. They drive me nuts, but they are really good whiskey. And I'll get one out. If you haven't tried these, this is definitely Grail level whiskey right here. This is the very first release, I believe, the 136.8 proof. It's either the first or second, but the other one's down there. Fantastic, crazy whiskey. We also have their Sour Mash, which was a gift from Matt Burns, dear friend, and that is, I believe it's like high-aged whiskey that was distilled by Wyoming Whiskey for them, aged in Americus, Georgia, I believe. Very good. Have a sneaky little mythology 10-year rye pick back there. Thunderhoof, thanks to Chris Prokopiak, who sourced that for us and many, many other members of the Stuff and Whiskey community. That man put in work getting those bottles to some people, so that was really cool. Let's move on to the other side. On the lower left there, you'll see a lot of Stag Junior. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 bottles of Stag Junior down there. Love Stag Junior. There's batch 16 down there. There's a special regional release that is not a batch nor a single barrel. Thanks to Matt Burns for that bottle. Incredible, absolutely love it. We've got 25A, we've got 24A, we've got 22A down there. I keep a backup of batch 16. I love that. Love to have a batch 12, but we never owned a bottle of that. Also have a Weller Full Proof, a Buffalo Trace Kosher Wheat that's down there for some reason, as well as a Weller 12 and a Blanton's that we just keep on hand to replace the one on the bar cart whenever it goes. That honestly should be down in the bunker, but you know, it is what it is. Top left shelf. This is some of the heavy hitting bottles that we own, some of our favorites. Another King of Kentucky, 2024 release, 16 years. So the next release up from the 2023, that's up above it. This is the backup, but they're both open and we love sharing both of them and comparing them. Super, super fun. This is a 1997 vintage rare breed, thanks to Justin Williams as a gift to Aaron. And I'm not allowed to touch this whiskey. This is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the only bottle of whiskey in the entire house that I'm not allowed to touch without Erin's permission. So it is her bottle and she gets to do with it what she wants. So there's that. We've got Russell's 15, which is probably my favorite Wild Turkey release ever. This bottle's signed by Jimmy Russell. We were up there doing barrel picks at Wild Turkey, picking a couple Russell's barrels. Matter of fact, we have a couple of Russell's Reserve single barrel picks coming very soon to our community. And that's through Patreon down in the video description below. Awesome picks. But after the pick 2 years ago, we were in the parking lot hanging out and we were talking about going up to the gift shop to see if Jimmy Russell was up there because we'd never met him before. And as we're sitting there talking in the parking lot, I see Jimmy Russell pull in and like pull up behind our group. And I'm like, hey guys, Jimmy's right there. So I had this in the trunk to share with everybody on the pick. Went ahead, Jimmy had a marker, so he was able to sign it. So I've had, now this is I have had 4 bottles of Russell's 15. I keep buying it because I love it. This stuff right here is, to me, the best thing Turkey's ever done. But because Jimmy signed this bottle, when this one gets empty and I go get a backup, I just refill the bottle that Jimmy signed. So there's that. Behind there's Single Rickhouse Camp Nelson E. There is the travel exclusive non-chill filtered rare breed. This one is from like 2022. Big thanks to Hoss Walker for helping us get some of these. We have stocked up on these. We've had a lot of people actually help us get some of these. and we stocked up because these like 2020 to 2022 non-chill filtered rare breeds are just operating on a different level from the current rare breeds that are non-chill filtered. Even though it's the same whiskey, I just think more of their good, like the best whiskey that they have is going into some of these special releases, and they didn't have as many special releases back when they were doing these non-chill filtered rare breeds a few years ago. What else is in here? We've got a bunch of Russell's picks back here. We've got some 1924, and then we have 3 different Old Forester 117 series. 2 of those are High Angel Share 1 and 3, which were 2 of my favorite releases from Old Forester ever, as well as the Turkey 8-Year 101 and the 70th anniversary. And there's also back there an Old Forester Rye single barrel that's really good. But that's that cabinet. And then I guess should mention there are 2 other bottles here that have not been shown, and it's a Blanton's and an Old Fitzgerald. This was a 14-year decanter that we got, which was a good bottle. It was fine. And this Blanton's was just a regular old Blanton's. But what both of these are infinity bottles. So the Blanton's bottle is a Buffalo Trace infinity bottle, where I have anything we own from Buffalo Trace that's good. It has 2 ounces of 100 proof and under, or I should say, if we have a bottle from Buffalo Trace and it's good, if it's 100 proof or under, there's 2 ounces in this. And if it's over 100 proof, there's 1 ounce in this. So it's got E.H. Taylor, Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace single barrels. It's got Stag Juniors. It's got a little George T. Stag in it. It's got Weller Full Proofs, all kinds of stuff in here. Same thing for the Old Fitzgerald. It's got a lot of Elijah Craig barrel proof, 1 ounce of a bunch of different ones of those in here. It's got a little bit of this 14-year still in here. What else does it have in here? It's got just a lot of like lower proof good stuff. Elijah Craig single barrel picks that are lower proof ones. It's got some JTS Brown in here because we really like that. All kinds of stuff. So these are 2 distillery specific single barrels, and a lot of fun. And then there's 2 other bottles I should mention over here, and they're too tall for the cabinet. And it's the only, well, 2 of the 3 George T. Stags I've ever owned. It is the 2019 and the 2023 special release. I had a 2020 as well and really liked it. These are kind of the outcast, unloved George T. Stag releases, which is kind of why I sought them out. I really like both of them a ton. I like 2020. I like 2024. 2025 is light years, like it's on another planet from anything that's come out in the last 10 years from the George T. Stag line in my mind. But these are really, really good. And George T. Stag is my single favorite product from the Buffalo Trace Distillery. These bottles are just so tall, they don't fit in our cabinetry. And on that note, right behind the camera, if you flip it around, is this closet. And we're going to do this a little different. It has some of my clothing in there, so we're not going to look at all that. But there is a bunch of floor whiskey in here. So we're going to try to take a look at some of that, talk about some of these taller bottles and maybe things that should be called out, bottles of note, we'll say. So let's flip the camera and get to it. All right, we got the camera flipped around. We're not going to air my dirty laundry out here, or clean laundry rather, but behind these 2 doors right here is a cart with shelving that has all of our barrel picks on it, which you've already seen a lot of those down in the bunker by this point, so there's no need to rehash those. Those are just the bunker backup bottles, but all the open bottles are up here. In addition to that, we have 12 brands we're going to talk about, and there are more bottles than just these 12 brands in here. I mean, I've got multiple bottles from some of these brands here to talk about, but a lot of these bottles are tall bottles and they don't fit on any of the shelving. So they're just kind of relegated to the bottom of the closet here, where we keep like our printer cart with, stuff that we do for the channel and Patreon and all that stuff. So this stuff just kind of gets sequestered away. I wish I had a better option for it, but again, we have a small house, kind of modest, and it's just there's no space for it. So this is what's down here. We'll talk about some of these brands, and we're going to go ahead and start with Smoke Wagon, a brand I used to really, really love, and I've kind of fallen out of favor with. I feel like some of these uncut, unfiltered batches, this is 152A, they don't have to me, they don't feel like they have the same quality as some of those lower numbered batches from back in the day. But I am glad to see them on the shelf all the time. But we also have the small batch back here, the not the small batch, but the bottled and bond or the 100 proof, whatever they call it. But that's back here as well. So that's our smoke wagon representation. We got quite a bit of High West back here, including Acts 9 and 10 of Midwinter Night's Dram. These bottles are tall. They don't fit anywhere else, but they are gorgeous. My favorite one I chose to pull out as an example is Campfire. This is a rye whiskey that's been blended with bourbon and single malt scotch, or blended malt scotch rather. And Campfire is fitting. Like, this stuff tastes very much like peat smoke. It's a crazy unique pour. Feels like sitting around a campfire when you're drinking it. Really love this release. I've kind of stopped buying Midwinter Night's Dram because it's up to $150 or more now, and I don't feel like it's worth that. But this stuff right here, nobody makes anything like Campfire, and I love it for that. A recent, within the last year, surprise for me has been Saint's Alley, and this is the Heretic. It's a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys finished in rum casks, 107 proof. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, the Iron Root Republic makes this. This is, or at least its source, I should say, distilled in Texas and Indiana. So it is a blend of some of their own stuff with MGP and finished in rum casks. So this bottle was in an Advent that we did last year. Really surprised me. And then thanks to Kim and Mark Schwartz for gifting me that bottle because I loved it so much. So happy to have that here. Found North is another brand that we love. We've got batches 5 and 6 here. I'm clinging to the last little bit of them, but we have some other Found Norths in there as well. We've done barrel picks at Found North. Just love what they do with Canadian whiskey. It's really cool. And those are some of my favorite bottles to take to barrel picks. I love taking Found North bottles to barrel picks. Many of the Found North bottles that I have gone home with other people at barrel picks because they've liked it so much. I've just sent them home with a bottle of it. But 5 and 6, I'm hanging on to for dear life because I love them both. We've got some Foregate, and Foregate is a brand that's very hit and miss for me on some of their releases, but the Kelvin collaboration series is always a hit. Even the ones that maybe aren't the highest reviewed or whatever, like this is 5, which didn't get as much love as 3 and 4, or 2 for that matter, but still really, really enjoy this. We bought multiples of Port Perry Perry, incredible port finish rye, much better than Midwinter Night's Dram, but this was a one-time release. But if I see Foregate doing finished rye, I'm paying attention because they do a very good job of it. This is an 8-year, just tawny port cask finish, crazy rye whiskey. That was the first time we ever spent $200 on a bottle of whiskey, was Port Perry Perry, and we bought a backup. We also did our own barrel pick, and it's down here as well, just because I wanted to keep it with the other Foregate, so it's right next to the shelving that has our barrel picks on it, but this is our Foregate pick too. Another brand doing fantastic things is ASW out of Georgia, and I think this Fiddler line is all MGP if I'm not mistaken, but this is their toasted bourbon and toasted rye. Very, very, very good stuff. Very surprising to us. We've had it on the channel, and is this a good alternative to something like Michter's toasted rye? I think it is. I think a lot of sweetness comes from this. Both of these bottles were gifts from our dear friend Matt Burns. Just absolutely stoked to have these. Love what ASW is doing. Would love to get down there and do a barrel pick ourselves. We have Evernorth Spirits here, and these are tall bottles, beautiful labeling. Shout out to Dan and Sean over at the Bourbon Junkies, but this is the bourbon and the rye that we selected when we were up there in March or April, I believe, this year. So we have a six-year Green River bourbon that was aged for a period of time up in Michigan. And this is a mash bill that they don't typically release for any of their products. So it is a unique mash bill. We also have the High Corn Rye Mash Bill from Indiana from MGP. And this is a 7-year. And we called them Screaming Delta Demon and Grizzly River Rampage for some old Opryland roller coasters, because they are both roller coasters of a whiskey. Awesome stuff. Got Yellowstone, and this is actually an American single malt. I lied, I guess, because Cedar Ridge is not the only American single malt we have. This is the other American single malt bottle that we have. I forgot about it, but I don't forget about it when I'm back here because I have been hitting this up. If I'm editing videos, I like to pour a little bit of this in a glass and just smell it and sip on it. Really, really enjoy that. That's a barrel pick that we did along with Mash and Journey, Dusty Dan's Whiskey Reviews. It's Bourbon Night, 21090, Bourbon of the Week. Hopefully I'm not missing anybody. I feel terrible if I am, but yeah, it was a great time, and that's a great pick. We picked a whole bunch of barrels. We picked like a dozen different barrels, and it was a ton of fun, and all those are back here as well. We picked some Rebels, some Ezras, some Remuses, all kinds of stuff. So we have Sagamore Spirits, and this is a barrel pick that we did, Riders of the Lost Barrel. Great story behind this one that we don't need to get into here, but this video is already long enough. But this Sagamore Spirit is just great. We've got the port finish rye, the sherry finish rye. Love the sherry finish. Port's really good, but love the sherry finish. Got some single barrel picks, got a double oaked rye. Got some Sagamore back here as well. 2 more brands to cover, and then we're done with all of our whiskey in this home. So Southern Collective Spirits Company, and I tried to save 2 of the best for last. If you're ever in Nashville, Tennessee, you need to go to Southern Collective Spirits Company. If you ever see any of their products in your market, you definitely ought to check them out. This is one of our favorite places. We tell everybody that comes to town, you should go here. What we have here in my left hand is Bogzilla Strikes Back, which is a barrel pick that we did. It is a unique mash bill, and they get a lot of cool unique mash bills up there at Southern Collective, but it is a unique mash bill, single barrel straight rye whiskey, from Bardstown Bourbon Company, distilled in Kentucky. 7 years old. This has gone toe-to-toe and beaten Thomas H. Handy for basically everybody that I've blinded on it. And a lot of our people in our Patreon community have also blinded people on that with Thomas H. Handy, and that beat it. That's the bar that we're shooting for with our picks if we can get it, and amazing. Just love that bottle. But I have quite a few other rye whiskeys back here. I have some 8-year Missouri rye. Few bottles of that back here. I have their Churchill cigar batch back here. Big shout out to Tyler Boggs and Ryan. If you're ever up there, either of those guys are up there, tell them I said hey, tell them Aaron said hey, tell them we sent you their way. Awesome guys. The other Southern Collective bottle I want to feature is the Midas Touch. And because we're very close, we're just a few miles away from Southern Collective and Nashville Barrel Company. We had some people in town recently at Nashville Barrel Company doing a barrel selection, but prior to that we were over at Southern Collective, and this is a very special 3-barrel micro blend that we did that we got 14 bottles out of, and that was for the people that were there helping us pick the barrel that were hanging out at Southern Collective beforehand. So we had 7 people there. We each got 2 bottles of that. Incredible whiskey. It's a 3-barrel 11+ year MGP, 36% rye, bourbon mash bill. Absolutely phenomenal. We played around with the percentages, and what came out of it was absolutely awesome. And then the last brand to mention here is going to be the Reveries. And Reveries Raven was the first release we ever tried from them. Knocked my socks off. I love this bottle. So we keep that very close at hand. And then we went to the Reveries and did some barrel picks. We actually went up there, tasted a bunch of barrels, and chose 4 barrels. And I have all those represented here. We have a 9-year Kelvin MGP, and we do pick a lot of 9-year Kelvin MGP bourbons from Nashville Barrel Company as well. But this one was really cool to try because it was aged for a long period of time in the DC area as opposed to Nashville, Tennessee. So this is a very, very cool barrel. I think it drinks much older than its age, and I really, really enjoy it. We have a 7-year that we selected, Bungburger Daydreams, because after the pick, Jay West used bungs from barrels to light a fire on the Weber grill and made us burgers, and so called this Bungburgers Daydreams. But this is a Bardstown Bourbon Company, 36% rye, bourbon mash bill, not too dissimilar from, we talked about that mash bill just a minute ago with something else. But anyways, absolutely fantastic. Really, really cool to taste Bardstown distillate that's been aged in a different area. So that's the DC area. And then the last 2 bottles I'll talk about are very special to me. We went to DC and Virginia to go to the Reveries, and I knew we would be tasting some of these kind of like infamous / legendary Buff Turkey barrels, which was, for a short period of time, barrels that Wild Turkey had Buffalo Trace distill for them and age for them, at least for a period of time. And then I think they age at Wild Turkey for a while as well. But it's Wild Turkey's mash bill, but it's Buffalo Trace's yeast, it's Buffalo Trace's distillate, it's everything is Buffalo Trace. So it doesn't taste like Wild Turkey, which makes sense why Wild Turkey released those barrels to the market. But we went up there to taste some, and they're very expensive. And I wanted to go into the barrel pick saying that we had tasted some of these Buffalo Turkey barrels and picked none of them because none of them lived up to the hype and none of them were worth it. And we had tried other releases from the Buff Turkey scope of barrels that other distilleries had had. And when we tried the barrels that we tried up there, not only were we unable to leave saying we only picked one, we actually picked two of them. So we have a 16-year and a 17-year. The 16-year is 130 proof. The 17-year is 114.9, right at 115 proof. These two right here, as I said, George T. Stagg is my favorite product from the Buffalo Trace line. These are 16 and 17-year single barrel Buffalo Trace. They kind of taste like single barrel George T. Staggs in a different way slightly. The 16-year has all the punch and oomph of a George T. Stagg. So this, to me, we've blinded this multiple people with George T. Stagg, and they've picked this. And then the 17-year to me is a little bit more in line with like the 2019 George T. Stagg, where it's very grapey, very sweet, lower proof. Really, really like this. And I think the way the oak comes through is just way different and really, really cool. I really, really enjoy this. These are two of the most special bottles of whiskey I have here in the home. They're two of the most expensive bottles of whiskey I have here in the home. And I did buy multiple backups of each one because I love them that much. And I want to have them for as long as I can have them. But yeah, I really, really enjoy both of these as well. Not telling you any of this because these have long since sold out by the time this video comes out. But very good stuff going on up at the Reveries. And we plan to go back up there and do another pick in the spring or the summer, as well as we'll be back up at Evernorth picking barrels in January. So I think that's it. Oh, I totally missed one of the most important bottles here. New Riff. We have a bunch of New Riff back here, a bunch of single barrel picks, some single barrel ryes just off the shelf. Their bottles are too tall. I wish they would fix that, and they don't fit in any of our shelving. This is the best one we've ever tried. This is actually a private group pick that my best friend since childhood did with some military guys back in 2019. But the 8-year that they have is amazing. Some of the special releases they do are amazing. I love trying the winter whiskey every chance I get. They do really cool stuff with that as well. New Riff just killing the game. I can't believe I almost missed them. I really wanted to highlight them. So I think for the money and the fact that this stuff is available, you cannot go wrong with New Riff. But yeah, I think that wraps it up, guys. I hope you enjoyed this collection inspection. I don't really call it a collection. I call it a selection because very little of this stuff is collectible, and anything that actually is collectible, like the King of Kentucky's or the Booker's Rye or the Old Rare Breed, all that stuff's already open and we share it. So that's what whiskey's for. It's for sharing. It's for enjoying. I would say probably 80% of our collection or our bottles are single barrel selections. That's what we love the most in whiskey, and that's why we do so many single barrel picks as well, because we want those to be available to our community. But yeah, this is, like I said, 20 years into the game for me as a whiskey nerd and a whiskey hobbyist. Aaron's been into whiskey casually for over a decade. We've had a channel for almost 5 years now, and we don't have unlimited funds or resources. So the funds and the resources that we do have are funneled into single barrels primarily, with a little bit of international whiskey sprinkled in. And we don't have a lot of shelfers because we feel like we don't need them taking up space when we could have that space available for single barrels that are a unique expression of some of the shelfers that are out there. But you know, that's how we roll. Everybody does things a little bit differently, but I think we did have over 400 bottles, maybe over 450. And I've been giving whiskey away because we are out of space. And there's a pile of bottles, not literally a pile, but a whole collection of bottles in our garage area that need to be given away. So anytime we have friends over, we just tell them, like, go look through there, take whatever you want. Like, That stuff's not even making it on video because it doesn't even exist as far as I'm concerned, other than the fact that it's taking up space in our home. But yeah, hopefully the psychology behind this whole layout, without seeing the home, it maybe is a little tough to conceptualize. But the biggie for us and our whiskey collection is very much experience driven, socially driven. We want people to come into the house, see the bar cart, comment on something on there, and then let us guide them from there. Or just bring them back here to the lounge where all the really good whiskey's at and have a field day here. But you've got to see the lounge, you got to see our best stuff, you've got to see our basic stuff, you got to see our bunker, you've got to see it all. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As Aaron always says, be good to each other, be good, do good, drink good whiskey, because that's what it's all about, good whiskey and good people. So with that said, cheers. We'll talk to you guys soon.